Tonight, Up Close with Bruce Springsteen, who seems, not surprisingly perhaps, most comfortable communicating through his music and his lyrics. But he gives a generous interview, devoting time and thoughtfulness to his answers. He lives now only a few minutes from where he grew up. Still, it has been a long way from there to here.
This is a bit of a journey for you, isn't it? I mean, from where you started off. I mean, you're back within a few miles.
It's actually only about a 15-minute journey from this spot, you know.
15 minutes, but there's a lifetime.
You know. Yeah. It's.
Do you feel altogether comfortable with everything you've got?
Yeah, I mean, it's. Look, I think. Look, when I started, you know, people's work life in the music business was, you know, 3 or 4 years or 5 years, and there was no such a thing as a 50-year-old rock musician. You know. Your
dad lived to see you become a big star, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
Did he ever come to terms with that?
Yeah, he got a big kick out of it. You know, it was unbelievable. You know, to him it was sort of like, who knew? You know, the only thing he said is, "I'll never tell anybody what to do again."
Because he thought it was a bad idea?
Oh,
he didn't want you to go into music?
Well, I mean, if you're a parent, it was a bad idea at the time. You know, it's like, what are the chances of being able to forget about it, making a living out of it? You know, so he was correctly protective at the time, I think. And
if you hadn't done this, Bruce, if you hadn't been a musician, what do you think you would have ended up doing?
I wouldn't have a clue. I probably would have done something else creative, I think. I think I was looking for my voice. I wasn't quite suited for the educational system, which is one of the problems with the way the educational system is set up, is it only recognizes a certain type of intelligence. And it's incredibly restrictive. You know, it's very, very restrictive. There's so many different types of intelligences, and people who would be at their best outside of that structure. You know, that most of the schools are, hey man, they're to get you, to build you up there and get you into the machine. You know, I've done this so long, since I was so young, that it's. I can imagine another road, but I don't know what, you know, where it would have led me at the time.
Let's go look at the factory, which is on these chairs that we have strategically placed here.
Oh, well, how about there's a couple of chairs here?
There's your factory.
All right.
There's your office.
Yeah.
Tell me about your workbook.
All right, I got to blame John Prillis from the Times for this. Is the second guy that's seeing this thing. I'm gonna put it in the closet after this, but anyway, it's just the book where I do my songwriting. It's just a general mess, and
let me hold on.
Take a look through it if you want.
We're gonna do this at random. What do we got?
All right, we got The Rising. There it is.
No kidding. How's that for a little serendipity?
So what does it say? Up on the mountain we're gonna climb. That didn't make it to the end of the song, you know.
Of all the things you've written in there over the past 10 months, how many are we actually gonna hear?
Well, there's 15, and the amazing thing about this record is there's only one book. The bad news comes when there's 2 or 3 books, you know.
But how many songs?
That's when you're in trouble.
How many songs have you got in there? I mean, how many made it? How many didn't?
I would say there's 15 songs on the record. We cut 17. We thought 17 were worth recording. So that's a real good. That's a low margin of error.
That's very.
You know, usually it can get really.
15 out of 17?
Yeah, it can get a lot worse than that.
Can you find one of the 2 that didn't make it?
Oh boy. All right.
You know where they are?
Well, here's Harry's place. Downtown hipsters drinking up the drug line. Down in the kitchen working in the coal mine. Got a special sin, mister, you can't quite confess. Messy little problem, maybe baby needs a new dress. Razorback diamonds shine a little too hard. Need a hammer, help you handle a little trouble in your backyard. Bring it on down to Harry's place.
So that's a drug dealer?
It was just I was just thinking sort of local kingpin stuff. And the rest of the song kind of goes on from there. It was fun. It was kind of, I was trying to write something that kind of went back to some of the imagery from my second record, so it was fun. It didn't come out bad, but it just didn't fit.
Oh, I see. It didn't fit the theme, or?
Yeah, it's just one of those things that got left behind, you know.
There's one thing we didn't talk about, Bruce, and if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine too. there was a point in your life where you felt kind of screwed up and you got some psychiatric help, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Why?
Well, to me, it was just a part of just sorting through things, you know. I had other people that had experience with it, and it was a part of, I was interested in seeing where I was going to go, you know, and making connections that I was having a difficult time making, you know, and I was interested in having a family and finding out why it was hard, you know, why was that particularly hard for me. And it was just a place something I highly recommended. I was very stigmatized when in my, you know, when growing up, you know, I'd never knew anybody who'd had that experience, and it was something that, you know, had a real stigma to it. And initially it took me a while to get around that and to get over it, but bottom line was I just needed it. You know, I needed to find out some of those answers, you know. Otherwise I was just stuck. My wheels were spinning, you know, spinning in the mud, you know. So it was something that has proved very, very useful for me. Very, very useful tool. For me, it's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you work out your physical thing, and that's some place where it's the mind garage, you know. It's just that's how I look at it.
I mean, you go back for a tune-up every once in a while?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, often as I can. That's for sure. You know, you get to talk for an hour on the fabulous subject of yourself. And
it's kind of like doing an interview for Nightline, isn't it?
And somebody has to listen, so it's okay.
But you use that word, the stigma that's been attached to it, and I think the stigma that's attached to it, particularly in working class families, there's sort of a sense that there's something unmanly about doing that. So
maybe also it's just hard to, it's hard to afford. You know, it's expensive. I think there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of people that can use assistance. That it's one of those things. It should be available. You know, because I don't know how it fits in with the whole issue of health care in the United States and stuff, but it's you know, it's one of those things that I wish, you know, people had access to if they found it useful. Right. You know, and the stigma is something. Hey, you can get around that. The money part, for a lot of people, they can't get around that part. You know. So
you're a happy man?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Yeah, things are, you know, I mean, it's always a relative term, you know, but you know, if it means sort of like, you know, I've had fulfilling work, you know, lovely, I got good friends, good family life, you know, job to do. That's what people look for in life, you know. Those are the things that end up, in the end of the day, you know, when evenings fall, when you're sitting there, those are the things that I think how you measure up your life by, you know, and those are the moments, those are the things that count, you know. So I've been really lucky, and worked hard at it, and curious to see where it all goes.